Hi everyone, I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. Today I'm in the laboratory here in Southwest Florida and I'm in the hood and you can probably hear the background noise of the sterile air blowing out at me. But I needed to be here and today's video is going to be chopped up and hopefully not too long. But I'm happy to share it with you. What I want to do today, this is kind of typical of what happens to me in the laboratory. So the last time that I did seed sterilization in the lab, I got a little bit lazy and I kind of did something I'd never done before, and it really worked well. So what I'm going to do is scale up and try it today again. And that's a little bit of a different seed sterilization procedure. So these are dry seeds that I have. So I have 4 lots here of dry seed, and I've got them in these 2 mil microcentrifuge tubes. And what I did last time and what I want to share with you is sterilization of the seeds in a dilute bleach solution. So I use 10% bleach, 5 to 10% bleach is what is recommended for orchid seed sterilization. For capsules like this, it's 50% or higher. But for seed, it's a lot lower concentration, just because the seed are smaller and you got to be concerned a little bit more about damage from the bleach, the Clorox, to the seed. But the part that I want to share with you that's a little different from what I did in the past is that when I pipette off and remove the Clorox bleach and then rinse with water, is that sometimes the seeds sink, sometimes the seeds float. And so what I've done previously is actually put these are microcentrifuge tubes, and I put them in a microcentrifuge. So, and then what it does is it spins out the seeds. The heavy seeds that have the embryos in them go to the bottom, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes the floaters are all that you have in here. So there's a mix of things. But what I did last time and worked well, and I'll try to repeat it again today, is that I just, by putting the pipette at the bottom, the pipette tip at the bottom of this tube, and then remove it that way, it kind of acts to filter the seed. The bottom of the pipette tip is small enough so that the seed may not go in there. I may lose some seed, but we'll see how this goes today. Last time when this worked efficiently, it worked on some Dendrobium seed that I got from Tristan Ingram from Ingrid's Orchids and More. And Tristan, here you go. It worked really well. Your seed has incredible viability, and a lot of the seed, most of the seed had embryos in it. So we're gonna get a ton of Dendrobium plants from this. But I'm doing this again because the embryos in these seeds are big, and then I have a Maikai cross that is from me, and that the capsule split a little bit early, only 4 months old, so I'm going to try it. So these are seed from a split capsule of a Maikai cross, and I'm going to try some of that. And then I have, for the first time, yay, not mine, but some Catasetum seeds. So these are dry seed of Catasetum, and I want to try those as well. I have no idea how the embryos in these seed look, or if they'll float or sink, or what'll happen. So this is a good test for these seeds. So I've got 4 different seed lots in these microfuge tubes. So what I'm going to do is take a break, make up my bleach solution, and then and put my lab coat on, because it's one of the few times I wear a lab coat in the laboratory as I'm working with bleach, because I don't want to get white spots all over my clothes. And then I'll sterilize for 15 or 20 minutes. I got to check my notebook and see the amount of time. So while I'm doing these things, we're going to go off and on and off and on. And then as I'm rinsing these I may stay on, or we may cut off, or I may speed up and go through it. And then finally I'll show you how I do the plating, and I'll give you kind of a peek at what the seeds look like. We may encounter problems whenever you do something kind of new for the first time with these different seeds. You don't know if it's going to work, you don't know if it's going to fail, but that's why you do these things, and I'm happy to share it with you, and we'll either go yay or we'll be sad at the end if this doesn't work for all. I know it'll work for the Dendrobium seed lot. I don't know whether it'll work for the the Maikai, so the Brassivola and the Catasetum seed lot. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to go make up the bleach solution. Okay, and we're back, and as I told you, I got my lab coat on, made up my bleach solution, and I did check my notebook, and I used a 10% bleach solution with a drop of Tween 20, which is a laboratory-based soap. I made it up to, so this is a 100 mil graduated cylinder, and so 10 mils of bleach, a drop of Tween 20, that's I think around 20 microliters, and then up to 100 mils. And I'm kind of a little overkill about this, but I use sterile water, autoclave water, to make it up to the right volume, just to make sure that I keep it kind of as clean as possible, as best as I can. And then what I'll do, so these things are not sterile, they're not sterilizing yet, but then I put them in my microfuge tube rack right here, and I try to conserve as much as possible, so I'll use the same pipette tip and pipette the 10% bleach solution into each of these tubes, because I do have to use, when I'm removing the bleach and the water, I do have to use a different pipette tip for each tube here. So you end up using a lot of plastic, which I don't like to use. So what I'll do is I'll open each of these tubes carefully, and then I'll add 1.5 mils. These are 2 mil tubes. These tips are sterile, but I'll add 1.5 mils of this bleach solution to each tube. Okay, so then I added 1.5 mils, and this will only add 1 mil at a time, so I added 1 mil and then 1/2 mil, readjusted and added 1/2 mil. And then I have to shake these up and make sure that the seeds are distributed evenly in the bleach solution. What I do is I take these over, and I have a device called a vortexer, and I will put each tube in the vortexer and make sure that the seeds, because what happens is the seeds tend to clump here, and I'll put them in the vortexer, make sure it's kind of like a paint mixer, really rapid mixing, and I make sure that the seeds are suspended nicely in the bleach solution. The Tween 20, which is the wetting agent, the detergent, you could use probably Dawn or something like that, another commercial or another good quality dish detergent. It kind of makes sure that the bleach gets in all the cracks and crevices in the seed, and then I'll start my timer, and we'll time this for 20 minutes. Okay, so let's get going, and I'll get back with you after the sterilization time is complete. I should also say that what I do when these are sterilizing, I will put these tubes on a rotating mixer just to make sure there's gentle agitation. If you don't have one of those like I do in the laboratory, you can just periodically shake these tubes up like this, and that's good enough. But that's what I do, and then I'll be back and show you how I take off, hopefully, if this works, I'll show you how I take off the bleach solution and then rinse with water. Okay, and we're back. So it's been 20 minutes since I added the bleach to these tubes. These guys were, I vortexed them actually a few times, and they were on the shaker, as you saw. So it's 20 minutes, and I don't like to let things go too long, so I am going to remove the bleach solution from the seeds. This is water. Not sure you're going to be able to see this, but this is my rinsing water, and I'm doing this as best as I can in the hood, trying not to contaminate anything. My helper, my good helper, is behind me, and she doesn't want you to be distracted, so watch what I'm doing here. And what I'm going to do, one at a time, carefully open the tube. And this is the Maikai cross is the first one, and I need to bring the volume. Forgot to reset my pipetter. So the pipetter, geez, went the wrong way. Pipetter, I'm going to bring volume, I'm going to bring up to 1 mil. So every time I'm going to rinse with 1 mil of water. And I'll get an indication of whether this will work in just a little bit, and it looks like it will. So what I'm doing, and the reason it's taking a little while, is I'm putting the bottom of the pipette on the bottom of the tube, and then kind of tilting it up a little bit. So I'm using that to filter out the seeds, so the seeds do not go up in the tip of the pipette. And right now I'm just being a little careful. You're going to lose some seeds when you do this, but I'm being careful not to disturb the seeds too much. Okay, and that was the first batch of Catasetum seeds, and that was also a floating batch, and those worked well also. This is the Dendrobium that is the sink. So I'm putting the wastewater here, and then the Dendrobium seeds are on the bottom of this one, and so then I go to the bottom and I'm pulling off all the bleach here. And what the Dendrobium seeds do is they block, oh there we go, they were blocking, they got up just a little bit, again you get so many seeds in there it's okay, but they block the bottom of the, they kind of clog the bottom of the pipetter. And this is another Catasetum lot, and this is another floating lot. And so the other thing, just so you know as I'm going through this, and you can see I did it fast, but I used different pipette tips for each seed lot because you don't want to cross-contaminate the different seed lots. So this Catasetum group ended up working well. Now what I have to do is I'm going to add my rinse water. And I don't really need to talk, but what'll happen, well, maybe I will talk just because the tip's not on very good. What'll happen is sometimes, bad tip. Sometimes what you'll see is that the seeds will float in the bleach and then sink in the water. I guess it's a density thing. So I added 1.5 mils. I sterilized in 1.5 mils, and I'm rinsing in 1 mil because I don't want to do the pipette re-dipping the pipette over and over again. So I just added 1 mil of water, and I used the same tip, but I was careful in not allowing the tip to get close to the tube, so I don't want to cross-contaminate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to vortex this again, and I'll show you one more rinse but then I usually like to do 4 to 5 rinses before I plate the seed. So I'll show you one more rinse on this thing, and then I'll do a few more on my own, and then we'll start again when I plate the seed, and we'll let you know what they look like. Okay, so I gotta go vortex these again, and then I'll be back to take this is the rinse water for the first time. I'll show you how I do that. All right, and we're back. So just when I told you that sometimes when you add water, when you add the rinse water, because of the different density of the bleach solution and the rinse water, sometimes the seeds that previously floated are now sinking, and that did not happen. So all of the ones that floated here, I don't know if you can see, but all the ones that floated are originally in the bleach solution are still floating now. The ones that are sinking have just stayed sinking, so no difference. So what I'll do is, and I don't like talking too much when I'm doing this because it's not good aseptic technique, so what I'll do now is remove the rinse water from the seeds and then add the second rinse water, and we'll go from there. And what I'll do is I'll add it, we'll kind of speed it up so you don't have to sit through it all. Okay, I don't know whether you saw me wince, probably not because you didn't have the right angle, but on with the Dendrobium seeds, and you can tell them because they're the kind of the most yellow seed lot, but with this seed lot, I lifted the pipette tip off the bottom a little bit too early, and I pulled a lot of seeds up in the rinse water, but I got so many of them, I don't care. The other seed lots, I did good with all of those. All right, so what I'm going to do is not have you watch me do the final rinses, but then we'll come back when I do the plating of the seed and we'll take a look at it. Okay, and we're back yet again. So I've got my mother flasks, these Petri dishes labeled. I don't have these guys in the right order, so let me do that. Now they're in the right order. I've rinsed these seeds a few times, and then now what I need to do is just kind of mix them up, get the seeds resuspended, and pour them into at least the top dish. So what I'll do at each time, and that was I resuspended in 1.6 mils. It's just a random number that I figured out. So what I did is I poured all of that in the first plate, and then I'll kind of mix it around and pour it in the second plate and then into the third plate. So each plate is going to be more dilute as we go along. So, and this one is going to be the Dendrobiums. I'll have to do this quickly because these seeds settle out quickly, and there were so many of them in here. So let me show you what I do. So these, I make sure they're all spread out, and then I take the plate that I poured it in, and then I'll pour it into a second plate. And what I have here is a pretty dense solution of seeds on the first plate. Let me get a little bit more off. There's a couple of drops left. No, there weren't. So, and then the final plate is going to be the least dense. And even though I started with 1.6 mils, by the time I get to the final plate, the medium absorbs the water. So by the time till I get to the final plate, there's very little water, and it's pretty dilute. Okay, good enough. So then I'll go to this one and do the same thing. Pour all of it in that first plate, and then to the last one. Got to make sure that I'm pouring everything in the right dishes. Got to resuspend my seeds, and this again, this is the Catasetum, and I'm really curious how the Catasetum looks because I've never flasked Catasetum seed before. All right, so what I'm then going to do, and I like keeping my work area clean, so I did drip some things here. So what I'm going to do is the same thing that I did with the Dendrobium. I'm going to transfer the suspension of the seeds to this plate and to the second plate and into the third plate, and then I'm going to take a look at it under the scope. So let me get again the seeds distributed, and then we'll take a look. Now for the fun part, at least for me, and what I'll do is I got to look at these things, and then I will put some. I can't do video under the scope, so I'll have to put some still images insert some still images. So first of all, taking a look at the Dendrobium seed, and these are just, you know, these are just loaded. What I am curious about is the most dilute plate, and that's still really loaded. So the seeds themselves, they're really dense. The seeds look good because they have big embryos. I'm now going to look at my Maikai cross, and I was concerned that because this split a little bit early, I was concerned that I'm not going to get any embryos in here, and it looks like my concerns are valid. The seed itself didn't look good. I'm going to hold on to these just to see what they do, but there's no clear embryos, and I'll put the picture up so that you can't, the embryos will be in the middle of the seed. They'll look like they'll be dense and spherical, and I just don't see anything there. I'll look a little bit more, and if there is something there in any of these, I'll take an image and put it on the screen. Now what I'm curious about is the Catasetums, to see how they look. The Catasetums look different from the other seeds. So these things are, the Catasetum seeds are really tiny. And they have, as opposed to the Dendrobium embryos that I showed you previously, the Catasetum embryos, first time, so I'm learning as I go. The Catasetum embryos from this first batch of seed, there's a lot of them in there. The seeds themselves are small. They're not as elongate as these other seeds are. So they're a little bit more elliptical rather than really long. And the embryos that are inside the seeds seem to be clear, or maybe not, a little bit opaque. You can see them in there, and there's a lot of them in there, but it's my first time doing the Catasetums. There are a lot of them, and I think the seeds are just small and the embryos are clear. Okay, this is the other Catasetum seed lot, and I'm just assuming they're going to look the same. And they do. All right. So my goodness, there's every seed that I'm seeing here has an embryo in it. So it worked okay, and there are a lot of embryos in these seeds. So this procedure seemed to have worked. The interesting thing is the Catasetum embryos, the Catasetum seeds floated. The Dendrobium seeds that had the big embryos in them, those sunk. The Maikai cross that is mine didn't have anything in there. Those floated as well. So you see a real variety of things. I guess the bottom line is the procedure that I wanted to try today seemed to have worked really well. All right, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you can click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, that's all I have for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and happy propagating.